back. This is it for banking in our country. The Senate starts voting as early as tomorrow on financial reform legislation, specifically on amendments that could either make this bill fix our system or be just another giveaway to the bankers who get the free use of your money and mine. They get the profits, you get the losses. So here's a way, an easy way for you to keep score on whether America is winning or losing. Your financial future, whether you will have a job, whether you will be paying 30% on your credit card while being extracted by a banking system that controls the government, is directly related to the following three bills. Number one, Senator Ted Kaufman and Sherrod Brown with their safe banking amendment that would force banks to shed assets to the point where they could actually fail without taking down the entire system. Bear in mind, it is their absolute size that they use as leverage to basically take the use of all of our money for their benefit and to our detriment. As they have said right here on our air, this bill aims to prevent too big to fail banks from being, yes, too big to fail. The bill has garnered support from progressives like Bernie Sanders, Jeff Merkley, Tom Harkin, Bob Casey, even Senator Jim Bunning, Republican from Kentucky, advocating breaking up those banks today on the floor of the Senate. Officially, no Republicans, however, have donned the white hats yet. But again, there are murmurs not only from Senator Bunning on the floor, but people like Senator Shelby, John Cornyn, even Senator Tom Coburn and others who look at this as a critical issue. Senator Brown admits that right now, however, he lacks the votes to advance the crucial amendment, but says they are getting closer. Where will your politician be on breaking up the banks? Check it out. Then there's Senator Lincoln's derivatives reform plan. Will it survive the amendment process intact? FDIC Chairwoman Sheila Bair now urging lawmakers to scrap one of Lincoln's provisions that would force banks to separate commercial banking from swap speculating. She said the move could destabilize banks and drive risk into dark, unregulated markets, which is funny if you think about all the risk that currently exists in dark, unregulated markets. Derivatives are really being properly regulated and traded in light right now, Sheila? I didn't realize that. Still, with opposition to Lincoln's plan building, keep an eye out for it being watered down either by the Treasury Department, the White House, or anybody working for Jamie Dimon and the big banks. Jamie, specifically in J.P. Morgan, has a lot to lose in business. Very profitable to trade derivatives in private, not so profitable to trade them in public. Jamie Dimon hates this bill, or that provision in this bill. Finally, auditing the Fed. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont has an amendment that would reveal to us how our Federal Reserve is being used as a multi-trillion-dollar piggy bank by the bankers to cash in their losing bets as they perpetuate this system of extraction against the American people and its future. This amendment would require the Fed to name the big banks who continue to take those trillions in secret subsidies, counter to the claims that they've, quote, already paid back the bailout money. So the next time you read some journalist or hear somebody telling you how they paid it back, you ask them about the $4.6 trillion at the Federal Reserve, or maybe they just don't know what they're talking about. This amendment, deeply opposed by the Fed and the White House, because they don't want to admit to the fact that they're running a basically fraudulent banking system with the fraud being hidden at the Federal Reserve. However, our representatives, who are the ones that allow them to tax our money to support this fraud, have started to gain bipartisan support. 5 Democrats and 10 Republicans, including Senator John McCain, Jim DeMint, Chuck Grassley, all in the Senate, all pushing to audit the Fed. The measure's twin was proposed in the House by Libertarian Ron Paul and liberal progressive Alan Grayson, only to be stripped down in the House by the likes of pro-bank Democrat Mel Watt of North Carolina, who effectively castrated the Grayson-Paul amendment. But do any of these 3 proposals have a chance of becoming law of any kind? That is not yet clear. Whether it's transparency for derivatives, breaking up the banks, or auditing the Fed, they offer all of us an opportunity to evaluate our political leaders to see where they stand. And did they vote for the bailout, and are they now refusing to vote for things like this that would prevent future bailouts? Do our politicians indeed work for the banks? You want an easy way to score your politician and vote them out in the fall? There you go. Kaufman, Brown, derivatives, and audit the Fed. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman from Florida, Alan Grayson, and live via Skype, Republican Congressman from Texas, Ron Paul. Congressman Grayson, I will begin with you. Why do we find a libertarian and a conservative like Congressman Paul, who's on the screen next to a a progressive like yourself, and we see the similar combination developing in the Senate. Why the combination?
Because we're all interested in fighting unbridled government power. Ben Bernanke has the power as the Federal Reserve Chairman to hand out $500 billion to foreigners with a rubber stamp approval from the Open Market Committee and nobody else. Nobody should have that kind of power. He did it before, he'll do it again. That's not the way things should work in any republic, in any democracy.
Congressman Paul was really the man who started this conversation some time ago. How do you view the accelerating momentum around the idea, both the bill with you and Congressman Grayson, but also in the Senate? How do you view the momentum?
Well, I think the momentum is against us, but I have to make a bit of a correction. Please. Because our bill actually did pass in the Senate. It is in the House version. So Mel Watt tried to undermine it, but we beat him in the committee with the help of Allen. We got enough Democrats and all the Republicans supported my position on that and our position. But the big question comes up very soon, possibly tomorrow, when Bernie Sanders offers his amendment. And in my understanding, it will be the same as our amendment. So that'll be the real key test. But even if Bernie's amendment passes, it's a long way from over. We still have the president that need to sign this, and then we need the courts. And traditionally, on monetary issues over the centuries, the courts always rule in favor of big government and government control of the monetary system, not free market banking.
If you were to look, Congressman, at the White House's vehement refusal or opposition to Senator Sanders' amendment, and you were also to look at the use of the Federal Reserve as a multi-trillion-dollar piggy bank to cash out too big to fail banks gambling with America's money, why do you think the White House is not aggressive in trying to root out this problem as you and Congressman Paul are, and instead defending it? Go ahead, Congressman Paul.
I think there's too much at stake, and it's power. They have power through the control of money. And I think this is going to end. I think what we're doing is very, very important, and it has brought the attention to millions of Americans about how important the Federal Reserve is. But quite frankly, I think they're going to destroy the dollar before they'll wake up, because everything is dependent on their ability to print money when they need it. Congress spends money, the deficits are running up, we get into a crisis, everybody gets bailed out, and if you couldn't print the money and couldn't bail out your friends, the whole thing comes crashing down. But if we continue to print this money the way we are, it's going to come crashing down anyway, and it's going to be a lot worse than if we bit the bullet and changed our ways. Yeah.